Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your friend Johan here, back again with another top 10 list. In my last video, what we did was we talked about my favorite songs to come out of this decade, the 2020s so far. This time around, we're going to be talking about my favorite albums to come out of the 2020s. Before we get started, I just want to shout out two honorable mentions, and those would be both Spirit Box albums, Eternal Blue and Tsunami Sea. I love both those albums equally. Tsunami Sea did not come out too long ago. I think it came out at the beginning of this month, March. So maybe I have to sit with it for a little bit, but nevertheless, I love both albums equally, and I doubt that's going to change. With that out of the way, here are my top 10 albums to come out of this decade, the 2020s so far. Starting us off at number 10, we got Kosmos and their self-titled record. I've definitely mentioned this album a couple of times in other videos. Yeah, for those who don't know, Kosmos are a jazz quintet out of Poland, and their self-titled record is definitely one of the best jazz albums that I've heard to come out of this decade so far, maybe even ever. It's dark, it's rich, it's smooth, and it does this like excellent job at blending traditional jazz elements, with pianos and sax, with more modern and more psych elements, with the different synth passages that they use. Yeah, it's just ear candy. It's one of my favorite things to listen to as of late, at least. And yeah, that's why it's sitting here at my number 10. Go check it out. Coming up next at number 9, we got Momma and their record Household Name. Yeah, I'm actually watching Momma play when they're here in Toronto in May. I'm going with a bunch of friends, and yeah, I'm hella excited for that. I also want to point out as well that Momma has a record coming out in April called Welcome to My Blue Sky. So even though that record's coming out real soon, we're just going to focus on Household Name for now. I don't know what I don't like about this album. Like, I love everything about this album. I love the guitar tones. I love the songwriting. I love how much Allegra and Ita's vocals just go so well together. And yeah, even though there are no skips on this album, the standout songs to me would be Medicine, Motorbike, Speeding 72, Lucky, and Calling Me, which is probably one of the first Momma songs that I've ever heard. So that one has a special place in my heart. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I just love Household Name so much, and I don't doubt that I'm probably going to love Welcome to My Blue Sky just as much. I feel like I don't even need to explain this one. I mean, I was going to put The Death We Seek by Currents at the spot as well, but hey man, I just got to give it to Knock Loose. This is Knock Loose's best work to date. The singles are hella catchy, yet there's some of the heaviest songs that Knock Loose has put out as singles, but the album cuts are no slouches either. They hit just as hard. I got to see Knock Loose live last year when they were here in Toronto. They were on tour with Loathe, Speed, and Show Me the Body, and I gotta say, that was probably one of the best shows that I've ever been to. 10 out of 10 experience. For that, and for that reason alone, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To is solidified at my number 8 spot. If y'all thought that Knock Loose was heavy and terrifying, they are, but so are these guys. This Neptunian Maximalism album is the most disturbed and unhinged thing that I've heard this decade so far. To be honest, I don't even know how I stumbled upon this album. I was probably up on like YouTube or Spotify or something and saw the album art and just saw how phenomenal it was and just clicked on it. To describe this album succinctly, it's a mixture between black metal and jazz. So there's a lot of like droning going on, but there's also like a lot of like rhythmic full sections as well. Two things that interest me a lot. I would also say that this album is the most cinematic album on this list as well. Like if Denis Villeneuve didn't have any background music for his Dune movies, this album would be the perfect background music for the Sardaukar. Like I said, this Neptunian Maximalism album is terrifying, disturbing, unhinged, and yet I'm happy that I ran into it. I've only listened to it a couple of times just because it's a lot to take in. Nevertheless, it's at my number 7 spot on this list. Yeah, I know Brat exists, but hey, for me, this is the one. Caroline has been one of my favorite pop vocalists for a while now, if not one of my favorite pop artists. And to me, Desire, I Want to Turn Into is definitely her best work. Her vocals are pristine. The songwriting is super colorful, and the production is probably some of the most lush production that I've ever heard ever. Just from the opener, Welcome to My Island, the whole album from then on just gives me this vibe that I'm enjoying a nice summer's day at like an amusement park or something. More specifically, like this is the type of music that I'd want to be playing in the background of that day if I'm, enjoying some cotton candy or lining up for a roller coaster or something like that. Of course, the standout tracks for me are Pretty Impossible, Bunny is a Rider, and then Fly to You that has Grimes and Dido on it. Everyone just works so well together in that song. Yeah, man, overall, Desire is just such a fun and bubbly album, but it still has like those slower, more lower key tracks to balance the vibe of the album out, such as Crude Angel and Hope Junk Everlasting. I'm sure that you've listened to it, and if you haven't, please check it out. Yeah, Caroline's the GOAT. That's pretty much it. The only thing I don't like about this album is its long ass album title, because holy shit. I remember when my brother showed me Fear Evil Like Fire for the first time, and yeah, I was just immediately elated and addicted to it, and from then on I just decided to check out the rest of the album, and safe to say that I was also elated and addicted to the rest of the album. This Yves Tumor's record is an alternative indie masterpiece, but with that being said, it just covers multiple genres like dance, electronica, post-punk, and psych. Like on the one hand, you got very bright and driven tracks like Lovely Sewer and Operator, and then on the other hand, you got more like groovier tracks like Meteor Blues and Parody. Yeah, similar to what I said about the Caroline Polachek record, this Yves Tumor's record is super colorful, yet it's really balanced. The only difference between this one and the Caroline Polachek record is that this record is a lot more experimental and therefore more in your face, which is why I have it at the number 5 spot, just because it has more grit. So yeah, this Yves Tumor's record is sitting nice at my halfway point at number 5. At my number 4 spot, we got People on Sunday by Domenique Dumont. This album is not only my favorite ambient instrumental album to come out of the 2020s, but it just might be my favorite ambient instrumental album ever. Domenique Dumont is a collaboration between Latvian musician Artur Sleepins and French artist Annette Stuss. And this album of theirs, People on Sunday, is very much one of those albums that just made the pandemic experience a lot more bearable for me, as this thing came out right in the middle of 2020. Similar to the Neptunian Maximalism album, this is probably one of the most cinematic experiences that one can listen to, but on the flip side, as this is obviously a lot more calming and more intimate, the synths and the pads that they use here are warm, aquatic, and soft to the touch. It sounds like something that you would hear out of Little Big Planet or something. Unlike the other albums that I've talked about so far, with People on Sunday, I don't think that I have any standouts or favorite songs on here, just because I think this album is best listened to as just one whole sonic experience. And yeah, just listening to this album and experiencing it, it kind of just makes me feel more optimistic and more light about things, despite how crazy the world is and how crazy times might get. This album is definitely like an antidote for that. And yeah, and for that reason, it's nice at my number 4 spot. In my last video, I had the song I'm Not My Season at my number 3 spot. So with this video, I'm going to have the rest of the album in this number 3 spot. Is Shore Fleet Fox's best album? I personally don't think so, but it is for sure their best sounding. Shore is just rich in soundscapes and layered instrumentations, glimmering guitars, soft piano passages, and just cathedral-esque vocal harmonies. It's funny because as wide and limitless as Shore is on the sonic front, I also find this album to be really intimate, especially with songs like Featherweight, For a Week or Two, and of course I'm Not My Season. And like a lot of the other albums here, Shore came out in the midst of the pandemic, and even though this album, or at least when I first listened to it, even though this album was first consumed by me in a isolating, enclosed space, Shore has now become one of my favorite albums to drive to, especially if I'm going somewhere far. I love Fleet Foxes, I love Shore, and that's why I easily put it at my number 3 spot. Both my number 2 and number 1 picks came out in 2020, and therefore kind of like set the tone for my music listening journey throughout the decade. So with that in mind, the silver medal goes to Lianne Havas and her self-titled record. Yeah, I love Lianne Havas, and her self-titled record is her best work to date. Lianne's vocal performances on this album are just phenomenal. You know, on songs like Bittersweet, Read My Mind, and Please Don't Make Me Cry, she really just sells it and gives it, and you feel every word that she's singing. To me, that's really important, considering how vulnerable and intimate Lianne's lyrics are, in conjunction with just how powerful and how present her singing is, it really just gives more weight to what she's actually singing about. She really could have been at my number one spot, but it's hard because for me, this album and my number one, which we'll get to real soon, they're interchangeable for me. But I guess with just how I'm feeling in this moment today, Lianne Havas and her self-titled record is at my number two. And finally, at my number one spot, the top pick is an album that comes to no one as a surprise, and that is Loathe. I Let It In and It Took Everything. I really don't know what else I could add to the discussion or surrounding this album. I just love it that much. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my top 10 favorite albums to come out of the 2020s so far. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, with that all said, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.